Welcome back.
Welcome back. I wanted to comment first on what you were wearing. What's it say on, what's your sweatshirt say?
Sanjay.
You want to tell the people what that means?
Sanjay's selling merch.
Sanjay is our son Ty.
Yeah.
That's his name, his music name. So he developed a line of merch, and you bought a sweatshirt. So if anybody wants to check out Sanjay, some of his songs are rougher than others. How's that? But
some are PG.
Some are PG. They've been more PG lately. I gotta say, I like some of the old ones. I don't really like the lyrics, but I like the beat of all of them. So anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit. We were kind of chatting about the fact that people ask me for advice, right? But I feel like oftentimes what people ask versus what I sort of wish they would ask is two different things, right?
Okay.
I'm just going to say, like, oftentimes people are just asking questions first, or like, about my treatment.
Yeah.
You know? What drug am I on? That's the biggest question. And,
understandably.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to know.
Right.
Because I really wouldn't understand if I didn't listen to the podcast what we think got you here.
Well, yeah, I just feel like at this point, the drug feels like such a small part of my life.
But
right?
it's the biggest part in people who, especially who are currently in treatment's part.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like I understand that, in that I would have wanted that too. I would have been like, oh, okay, good to know that that's what's working for this person.
Right.
I just feel like it's really a much bigger question, you know, in terms of everything.
It's a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
That truly is. And I don't think it's the most important piece. I know that's debatable, but I think it's an equal piece of the pie.
Yeah. So I just was thinking about, like, how when people ask me questions, it's always first off, you know, what's your type? I'm triple positive, invasive ductal carcinoma. And even that, like, my doctor was like, yeah, I think that, I mean, I don't remember even talking about, like, what type of cancer. We found out it wasn't inflammatory, which we thought it might have been at first. But other than that, like, it wasn't something we were focused on. We did, of course, type it in terms of hormones. So important to know that it's triple positive, but also with that, like, we found through the years, because I was on Herceptin for a while, and just some different, that it's probably not strongly HER2 positive. And again, that's probably good to know, but also cancers sometimes change type over time, you know? So, I think some of these things, I just realized, one, that I think about things way differently than some people. I do not need to have all the facts to proceed. Like, it doesn't help me to know more about, like, what my drug is and exactly how it works. You know? It helps me to think about a medicine as it destroying cancer. Like a visualization versus well, it connects to this receptor or it blocks this receptor. That doesn't mean a whole heaping lot to me, right?
Me either. Yeah.
So for me, it's much more about, like, okay, how do I envision this medicine working, you know, and how do I envision it overall, right? In terms of, do I view it negatively? Do I look at all of, I mean, I've said this in the podcast before, but I don't read side effects. I just feel really strongly, I know how my brain works, and it would manifest side effects. It doesn't mean that I've stayed away from all side effects. I clearly haven't with the, you know, the ONJ. Like, I have had...
Well, and people in your life have read the side effects and know what they are.
Yeah, it's not like we do things completely blindly.
No.
But I just have felt so strongly about how much that impacts the way I feel on a day-to-day basis.
So why don't you explain a little bit the manifestation of a side effect, what you're talking about there for people who might not understand.
Yeah, so like I was on Zometa for a really long time. Zometa is a bone strengthener. And a couple things with that. It took me literally almost until I stopped it to realize that a lot of times on that day, I'd feel fine when I got it and whatever, but later that evening, I might kind of run a fever, might feel a little weird. I never attributed that to the Zometa because I wasn't going to give it that power, I guess. And it was probably after I stopped it that I realized, oh yeah, I guess a lot of times my day did kind of go south after I got that, you know? But also by not recognizing it, I certainly wasn't giving it any bandwidth to be able to control my life or take over my life in any way, shape, or form. When I did like chemo, I think we were much more mindful of that. But that again is kind of that expectation.
But we were only mindful of the big things to watch out for.
Yeah.
The hey, you need to come back in if. Those things we were very aware of, and we weren't ignoring, and we weren't just saying, no, don't tell me. We knew those things.
Right. And we also knew with regular chemo that it was more on a cycle, right? Like it did kind of take you up and down a little bit more than the other drugs that I've been on. And even, people talk about bone pain and achiness and all of these things. I have had them. They have definitely been a part of my life. Yep. Again, I will not give the medicine. I will not correlate it with the medicine. It's not going to happen.
Do something in your life to attribute that pain to something else.
Yeah.
Work
out.
Yep.
Because I want all of my intention about a medicine to be as positive as possible. I want to believe in it. I want all of those things. And I think some people to be completely honest, I feel like some people want advice from me, but they don't want to do what I do. And that's being completely honest. When people immediately start pushing back on, well, I can't but, because or whatever.
For example, what? Like, so the question is, what drug are you on? That starts the beginning. Yeah,
or what type, or, what.
So you give them that information.
Yeah, and then a lot of times it'll be, what do you feel like made the biggest difference?
Okay.
Something like that, where I just go, I think it's a cumulation of a million different things, big and little. But it's also, more than anything, it is about this intention of how I go about prioritizing my health, thinking about cancer, the power it has and does not have, the power that I hold within my thoughts, my mindset is huge. And I think, if I were to kind of like show a building block of that, I do the other things, the physical, the nutrition, I talk back about support. I interact the way I do medically so that I can keep my mindset where I know it needs to be. And it's almost like it's so simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. And that is just really, it's really a challenge, I guess.
Well, here, I think maybe a difference is, the first good piece of advice you got, whatever it was, is, eat some vegetables or something, drink green tea or something.
Yeah.
And that for you was okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I am doing something to help myself.
Yeah.
Where I think what frustrates you is people ask and you give something simple.
Yeah.
Like that. And
then
they
tell
come
me why they
back with, instead of, let me give it a shot.
Yeah, or even just like, and sometimes it's big things. Sometimes it's, well, I have to work. And it's like, okay. But again, your life is the most important.
Yeah. You won't be working.
You
long.
won't be working if you can't. Yeah. And so it is like,
But you do. I understand it's a real, absolute real thing that people have to work. We were lucky, in a lot of different ways. We were, because there are people who don't have someone who can work, that can't get on disability right away, that absolutely have to pay the bills, that have 2 kids at home, that's just, you can go on and on and on, who are already well in debt prior to this happening. And it is an absolute necessity. But that does not mean you can't take care of yourself, too.
well, it means, I think, that you have to, make yourself a priority. Not everything can be held to the same level that it was before. So you need to be able to kind of say, okay, if I need to work, can I access FMLA 1 day a week? Can I make a little bit of a cut so that I can do this? Or what can I do to say, no, I'm meeting the responsibilities I have, but I also am giving myself permission to take care of myself and care for myself. So
and it's not even...
It's a long game.
Yeah. The example I gave there, honestly, most people we hear from, or you hear from, are not that person. They are people who are, for lack of better words, choosing to work because they feel like they need to. Whereas if we would go back to when we were in that situation, we needed your income.
Yeah.
Absolutely needed your income. We were not making money. We were just starting out in life, and we made it work with help from people. We made it work with just a ton of support. It wasn't like, oh, well, you can just stop working, we're good to go. It was not like that.
No.
It put us straight financially, has absolutely changed what we've done the rest of our life. No doubt.
Yeah.
But it had to happen.
Yeah.
There was no but.
Right.
There's no but.
I think that people don't always understand all of those things either. And again, I think the majority of our audience lives in the United States. I know not all of you do. But like those of us who do live in the U.S., unfortunately, insurance is tied to your work, your employment. We had actually just switched so that you were carrying the insurance. Prior to that, I did have both short and long-term disability, which I was able to access. I did access. Again, those were the things where it was something that it was like we had these things in place prior. We did access them. It was an immediate pay cut, but it was something, and it was enough.
Yeah.
And applying for disability, I applied immediately. My mom and my doctors did all that. I don't know that I did any of it, to be honest. I think what bothers me about some of that is the stigma in the United States of going on disability. And then also with metastatic breast cancer, there's a 6-month waiting period, which is insane, that you have to somehow get through 6 months. And big organizations like National Breast Cancer Coalition have been, lobbying for this to change for literally years, and nothing has changed.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. It's honestly, it feels like the government is just waiting for as many people to die as possible.
It's crazy.
And so that they will pay out less. It is where sometimes the fiery part of me, the feminist in me, goes, if this was a man's disease, there would be no 6 months waiting list.
Right.
Like, this is wrong, you know? But it is all of those things where sometimes I think the easy answer is saying I can't, instead of going, oh, I could, but it'd be really hard. And, like, it's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's looking at all of those kind of things. It is when you are kind of the main spoke in a wheel, right? And so many things revolve around you, and then you are diagnosed with something like metastatic breast cancer. It's like, oh, wait a second, who's going to come in here to help me, or how do I relinquish some of these things, or how at the very least can I stop taking care of everybody else for a little bit?
That's
you know.
Yep.
It's just, yeah, it's really big.
So how do you, if somebody who had not listened to your podcast, didn't really know about you, but found you online or something, and they said, hey, what advice do you have for me? Or what do you wish people came to you?
Well, I think I wish, it's easiest to talk to people who are really looking for some sort of a plan, in terms of not just me commiserating with them. I'm not great at that. I'm not great at saying, oh, I hope it turns out okay. I'm very much, I think we kind of have talked about this in our family. We are very much, you bring us a problem, we're going to say, let's figure it out. It doesn't matter how big it is or how small it is. We want to be able to problem solve a way forward, right? Mm-hmm. And are very willing to help in those situations. What's not easy for me is,
woe is me.
Woe is me, poor me.
Come in with me.
Yeah, come in with me. I'm not going to. I can't. Mm-hmm. I won't. I can't say I could, but I won't.
And unfortunately, we're both the same there, which is, sorry, kids.
Yeah, it's not always great in terms of empathy, I guess.
No, empathy's still there. Empathy's very much there, okay. I've learned. And there's a difference between that.
Yeah.
It's somebody coming to you with a problem and willing to be on board with the solution.
Yeah.
Not putting it in your plate for the solution, but willing to be a part of the solution and not just look for somebody to help.
It's not a fix me situation, right? Like we don't want that. We're willing to help.
But I think we have a ton of empathy.
You're right. I would agree with that. You're right. It's more, I will help, but you obviously have to play a role in anything that you do.
And when we see that, we go all in.
Yeah.
From our past, and whether it's cancer or the coaching or the kids that need a home or that kind of stuff. It's when they do what we respect that. Yeah. We respect the crap out of that, and we'll do anything we can to help people like that.
Yeah, I agree.
But on the other hand, it does. We are very here and here. If you watching the video, it's
from one side.
We're on both or one end of the spectrum there. If you are kind of just, I want somebody to fix me. That's just not us.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we're very able to be compassionate about somebody's circumstance, but what we've learned, I think, is that we all have challenging circumstances.
If you don't want to suck it up and fight, and I know we don't like that with cancer, but there is a fight when you're when you have cancer, that you are fighting. And if you don't want to fight, that is an option. That is an option for everybody. And a lot of people are, in different circumstances where they're just like, I'm done. Okay.
That's fine.
There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's individual, but the people who tend to come to you, everybody who comes to you is doing that. They're taking that step, and I want to fight. They would never contact you if they didn't. So.
Yeah.
But it's, maybe family members on behalf of somebody. You do get those phone calls.
I have a pretty hard line with that. That's been a really easy thing for me. It's happened to me so many times over the years that when somebody will reach out to me saying, hey, I really need you to talk to my sister. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, happy to. They can call me or they can, whatever, DM me. I'm not going to reach out to somebody. I tried that a little bit in the beginning. Nope. You have to.
For good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to take that step forward and want it enough that you're willing to make the contact.
Yeah, and understandably, I mean, for you to contact somebody, they may not want contact.
Exactly.
The sister or brother may want that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I've had conversations with family members before about that. Like you don't get to decide how a person takes on cancer. You just don't get to. You can be a great support to them, and you can also, help them in a million ways. But ultimately, you have to respect the decisions that they make. Mm-hmm. So,
So the obvious pieces of advice, or the easy, I think, pieces of advice are, hey, eat right and get some exercise and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's also like for me, I would say like build from your strengths. Like, like when I look at kind of all of those components, the physical, the mental, the nutrition, all of that is kind of like, okay, what did I feel the most confident in? As somebody who had been, was an athlete and all those kind of things. Oh yeah, I can get stronger physically, and that it's, I mean, runner's high, whatever that is. It's not even that when you do something for yourself physically, you feel like you can take on the day better, right? So it's that, and also, so building from your strengths in that respect. Because I went for a walk, and then I was like, okay, then I'm gonna do visualization, and then I could build on that, and what can I eat that's good for me? And it's not 100% of the time. A lot of times for me, it was kind of that block of time in the morning that I had when Sydney would be at a babysitter's, where I could really just pour into me in a way that set me up for the rest of the day.
And is that where you go? Where do you, you said build on their strengths, but
yeah.
I mean, do you start talking to people about the mental side? Does that
I think
come
the
up?
mental side is so important. Yes, right from the start. It's how you're talking to yourself. It's the I hope to the I will, or the, the if, to the when. It's those kind of things. It's the listening to the thoughts in your head and trying to turn them around. And even if you have 5 minutes a day, you can do that. You can listen to what that soundtrack is in your head and go, okay, how can I change this? And also, like, who's adding to it in my life? And is it helpful or is it not helpful? And if it's not helpful, then either if it's somebody in your life who you're really close to, you need to have a conversation and say, listen, I can't do this. I can't have you, bringing...
Or somebody else can.
Or somebody else can. Yes, I would agree with that too.
Yeah, that is very uncomfortable for some people, obviously, to have that talk. Yeah. That's what, if you have people in your circle.
What though? Honestly, I feel like there's maybe nothing more important than being able to protect and to move in a way that's like, okay, what is the possibility without somebody else always negating it or bringing their stress or their anxiety into that. I am fortunate in that our family, we didn't have that situation. But I know many families do. The mom or the mother-in-law who's so scared herself, everything she says just feels terrible to you. Feels like, oh my gosh,
Well, speaking of the lingo, everything is if. Yeah. Everything is that. And that you're hearing that, and they're doing it just to be cautious. And also they're maybe overdoing how they're, I'll do this, I'll take care, I'll do, or the things that they say that make you feel like, oh, there were some people that I thought, they are preparing for me to be gone. They are preparing for me to die. Yeah. And if that's what they need to do, that's fine, but not in my presence. Like, not in a conversational exchange. I can't, Yeah, no one in our circle was there.
No.
The next circle's out, for sure, because they weren't around you much.
Right.
Or me.
Yeah. So, the advice I would give with all of that is just, what can you build on? It is one step after another, one foot in front of another. What makes you feel a little better every day? What are the habits you can incorporate that go, okay, I got to go to work, but I did make a really great smoothie, or I got, 6 fruits and vegetables, and rather than the other thing with that, don't discount that. Like, be proud of yourself for that instead of, oh, I should have 10. No, that's 6 more you didn't have, 3 days ago, or whatever it looks like. It's all of those things. It's kind of going back to the Gap in the Gain book that we talked about on here before, but like staying in the wins. Like, what are the wins versus, what are the things that are scaring the crap out of me, and what are the things that I really can't control?
And you can have a lot of wins at work.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It just
Absolutely.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
dealing with this, and yes, you have to go to work. You can win a lot at work, and absolutely come home feeling like you won. And it goes back, all your attitude about each kind of curveball that came at you. Yes, at times it might have been a woe is me for a day or two, and then you learned how to, wait a minute, I can flip this. Whether it was, the bald head,
Yeah.
the shaving your hair, the bald head, let's go out. And not out like, but no, you were ready to some extent confront people
Yeah.
with a bald head and go, this is me.
Yeah.
You have to deal with this. That was a win. It was a mental win, and I hope you guys understand this, what we're talking about. But you had to have had some anxiety about that, about
for
going
sure.
out. But you confronted it right away, and like with the letters you wrote to everybody, it became a win. It became I confronted this, I got ahead of this, and now it's other people's problem, not mine.
Yeah.
And you did that from the very beginning. And again, all of this is the mental side, and it's so important,
Yeah. And I mean, again, like at work, wins that you can have, whether you have cancer or not, if you get 10-minute breaks, you can go for a walk, or you can, like use the opportunity you have. Or if it makes you really feel great to go talk to a certain person, go do that. If it makes you feel really great to go and laugh in the teacher's lounge, go do that, whatever that looks like, and also looking at that as how lucky am I that I can do this, that I still have that opportunity. Or sometimes I will look at periods in my life where I'm like, this is kind of a put your head down and grind time. Like I am going to work hard, but I'm also going to be intentional about my time. I'm going to, do my best to make sure that it doesn't, consume everything, and just take the best things from it, So, yeah, I don't know, there's a lot with that. But the advice, I feel like a broken record lately, but if you want to talk about medicines and new things in cancer, like, you got to go somewhere else. We're not it.
Just not even the types of cancer and that. I have just stayed away from that, because I know it's not the most important thing. And it's just not. And I guarantee the people listening, I hope you are 20, 25, 30 years out with metastatic breast cancer. You're going to look back and you're going to realize, wow, that didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
It mattered for some people,
Yeah.
the medical side people, that's what they went to school for. That's what they've spent their whole life, becoming a professional at. It doesn't matter to the patient or the people around the person with metastatic cancer. It just doesn't, because you can't really control it. You can control the other things.
Yeah.
And that all leads to the mental
What
side.
can I control? What can't I control? And the things I couldn't control that somebody was trying to control, like have a really great team, right? Have the
Do
best.
a good job.
Yeah.
Do good.
And
I said that a lot to the
and,
doctors.
And
Do a good
believe
job.
in them. Believe in what they're doing. Believe that they have, a plan and the next plan. And things are not.
And
You're
the
not
surgeons. And
you're not going to hit
good.
it out of the park every time. And progression happens and things like that. One thing I have often said that I've been stable on Posidex since 2004, but I had 3 or 4 drugs before that. It was different for me because I did so much chemo and everything. It was a different process then. But people would say, oh, I failed Arimidex and I failed tamoxifen. I never fucking failed anything. Those drugs did not do exactly what they needed to do for me or whatever. And
your oncologist caught that and went to the next one.
And that's exactly
that's
what we do.
we count on her for.
Yes, exactly. So,
and the techs, they caught it and they did a good scan, and the surgeons, they did people do good job. Go to good places that they do good work.
Yeah.
And you do what you can do.
Yeah. I agree. Woo. Yeah. A little bit fiery. Oh, well.
Yeah, this is obviously pretty passionate about this when you talk about it for 3 years or 2.5 years or whatever we've done, you really start to figure out the important parts, and this is it.
I think part of it too is like I feel like I've kind of gone through life trying not to upset people. I'm a middle child, and now I'm just like, I like me or don't like me, listen to me or don't.
Yeah.
I mean, please listen, but also like don't. If what we're saying grates you, then you're not meant to be here. Like it's not for you. So, and we don't have to.
And if you do like it, by the way, there is merch for your stuff too.
I do have some I'm Still Here stuff. Yeah.
There is.
Also,
have we even said that?
No.
There is. I don't know how you get it.
You can go to heatherjose.com and there's a products page, and the top part of the page is all about the guides.
Oh.
But below it, there's a link to the Etsy
Great
store.
Christmas present. Boom.
Oof.
Last minute. I don't know if it's going to get there in time.
I don't know either.
But a New Year's present or a early February present. Yeah, forget that. Yeah.
So, I think it is just about figuring all of that stuff out, right?
Yep.
So, all right. Well, we'll be back next week.
See ya.
See ya.